If you're familiar with Photoshop, the way the appearance palette works might be easier for you to comprehend. But if you're not, don't worry. Appearance palette is easy to understand, of course, when you got the right teacher to explain it to you, and you got the right teacher.
This video is brought to you by EpiPies Academy.
But enough of the self-marketing, let's get to the appearance palette already. And what's that resemblance to Photoshop I just mentioned? Well, the appearance panel, quite similarly to the layers panel in Photoshop, holds all the effects you apply to an object. But that's not all there is to it. You can add or remove effects here, transform them, add or remove fill and stroke, and change even them. Yes, you can transform the fill and the stroke as well, and it's all dynamic effects, so you can change them anytime you want. Basically, you get a total control over your object without making any permanent changes to it. Before we move on, let's save our workspace, since in the last video we added Pathfinder to it. So, I'll go to the Workspaces panel, choose New Workspace, enter my new workspace, and hit OK. The appearance panel is sitting right here in the right panel. Is this icon that resembles, I guess, a sun? If you don't see it, you can access the appearance palette by going to Window, Appearance, or you can always use the shortcut Shift plus F6. I think that it's best to understand the potential of appearance palette by applying different effects to type. I know we haven't talked about creating type yet, and we will in a future section. For now, take a look at what we will be creating. These two words, which, and that was extremely witty of me, indicate what we are about to create, have different effects applied, and we will recreate them now. Let's move to another layer where I have already written cool effect. Now, with the type selected, I'll go over to the appearance palette, and in here I can see all the effects currently applied to the text. Well, there's not much in here, right? Well, we're about to change that. First of all, I'll add some fill to it. I'll go up here to the top right corner and click these little arrows I encourage you to explore earlier in this course. I'll choose Add New Fill and make it this time, well, maybe green. Now I'll do the same thing again, and as you can see, we got two identical fills. So what I want to do is to make the bottom one white, but that's not all. I want to go to this bottom FX symbol. If I click it, I'll get access to different live effects. From here, I'll go to Path, Offset Path. Now, in this dialog box, I can set the offset value, which will expand or shrink the fill, depending on the value I type in. Negative value will shrink the fill, and positive value will make it bigger. I want to make the fill bigger, so I'll go for 6 points maybe. I also want to make the join round so I don't have any sharp corners. Okay, I know you can't see much because it's white fill over white background, but we'll change it with the next fill. I will drag the white fill over to this icon, and it will duplicate the fill and all its attributes. So we got a duplicated white fill with an offset path. Now I will click this offset path attribute in the bottom white fill and change the offset value to, hey, I'll go crazy and enter 25 points. Still nothing changes, right? Well, actually it does change, but we will see the effect when I change the color of the fill to maybe, I don't know, this lighter green. Aha! See, I wasn't fooling you. With simple clicks and drags, we got a nice looking effect. But if that's not cool enough for you, take a look at this. Since it's all live effects and the type is also live, I can rewrite it and still keep all the effects. Now, if that's not enough, I can go to our good old friend Recolor Artwork and change the colors just like so. And if that's still not enough, I can go to our bottom fill, click the FX button again, and this time choose Stylize, Drop Shadow. Now, drop shadow is pretty straightforward. We got the x-axis that tells the drop shadow to move to the left or right, and we got the y-axis to move the shadow up or down. Blurred tells the shadow to be, well, more blurred or less blurred, and if we want to, we can go all the way down to 0 to get rid of blur altogether. I'm gonna set some reasonable values, and in result I will get a nice looking drop shadow effect applied in no time. I gotta say, this looks quite interesting, but I'm not full of live effects yet. Again, with the bottom fill selected, I'll head over to the effects symbol, choose Stylize, and choose Inner Glow. I won't go into details about the modes we can set here. I'll leave screen active because screen hides everything that's black and shows everything that's white, and for glow that's the best option. I will however play around with the blur and center and edge. These options work together. I mean, a certain blur value works better with glow applied to the edge or to the center, which basically changes the spread and the origin of the glow. It's really cool to watch how different values affect the design, so I'll leave it up for you to explore. Okay, this looks pretty cool, don't you think? This covers the basics of Appearance Palette. Remember to practice everything I just showed you, and don't be scared to experiment with different effects, because you may get results you never even thought of. Okay, so this was the last lesson in the Creation Tools section. Now that we know how to create, we can start learning to move, scale, rotate, reflect, and align objects. Briefly speaking, let's get to know some transformation techniques.